Now, let me turn to a pattern we're seeing in this election cycle where candidates are adding a personal touch to their campaign ads. Let's check it out.
Women like me aren't supposed to run for office. Mother from Puerto Rico, dad from the South Bronx. I was born in a place where your zip code determines your destiny.
When I was 12 years old, I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I grew up. When I was 13, my congressman told me I couldn't fly in combat.
One of my first memories was of a door, but it was my dad throwing my mom through a glass one. 3 years later, Mom got the courage to walk out the door, and she opened a new one for my sister and me here in Texas.
My name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm an educator, an organizer.
I'm Amy McGrath, and I love our country. I was the first woman Marine to fly in an F-18 in combat, and I got to land on aircraft carriers.
And that's me, MJ Hagar, an Air Force combat veteran and a mom.
Ed, these are honest, they are real, they are relatable. You spoke with the two ad makers that crafted the three commercials we just played. I want to play a clip from Natasha Fernandez-Silber, a socialist filmmaker from Detroit, who shot the ad for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, although she did write her own narration. Let's listen.
Yeah, so we spend a long time just getting to know the candidates, getting to know their backstory, finding out about the issues that matter to them. And, we basically use all that information and put together a script, and then the candidate takes the script, puts it into their own words. Alexandria was very involved in the writing of the script and making sure that it all came together. And then in terms of, the nitty-gritty of it, I think, what makes our videos unique and special is that they are driven by a very strong, ideological foundation. There is democratic socialism that is always out in the open, and Alexandria really wanted to push forward specific policies, Medicare for all, a Green New Deal. And so our videos are not speaking in platitudes, they're speaking in real solutions for the problems that people face. And that's more or less the process that all these videos have gone through.
So, Ed, it's interesting that in the process of making an extremely personal ad, both the filmmaker and the candidate are focusing on specific policy points, don't you think?
Yeah, and that's frankly why Ocasio-Cortez would go out and hire a group like Means of Production, because they obviously sort of understand where she's coming from, share the same beliefs, and together we're able to work together on something that really powerfully demonstrated why she was running and sort of captured, at least in that specific congressional district, the mood of a lot of people who obviously ended up supporting her. I think it's fair to say, Tanya, and I know you were one of the first to really talk to her when this campaign was still seen as improbable, that the video really helped make it happen.
Oh, well, you know what, I just want to add, Ed, that's exactly the reason we called her in to interview her here, is that I saw that video and I thought, we have to talk to this woman. I hadn't seen anything like that before.
And across the country, whether you're Democrat or Republican, a man or a woman doing this, young or old, the goal now is to come up with something like that production, have it catch the eye of the local media, have it catch the eye of your supporters. Hopefully it helps that candidate raise money. They can maybe run the ad on television, which reaches the largest audience still, despite the fact that social media is so successful. And then eventually, the hope is that candidate wins. And what we've been told in the process of looking into this is that despite seeing so many examples across the country, there is limited success in going viral, raising so much money, and catching fire. And Ocasio-Cortez, at least this cycle, was one of the first to do it quite successfully.
Absolutely. So, Ed, that was the first political ad that Fernandez-Silber's company made. But the man who made the other two ads we showed you has been in the business for more than 2 decades. And here is how he sees the industry changing.
We used to always feel constrained by the 30-second, or maybe if we were fortunate, a 60-second advertisement that we put on television. But now it's with the rise of social media and people spreading these videos if they are intrigued by them to all their friends, and it goes viral. That allows us to make programming that's longer, to make a 2-minute or a 3-minute video. And people will say, oh, you can't go longer than 30 seconds, nobody will pay attention to it. If you have a good enough story, people will watch. And so the need to raise money has led to campaigns investing in these videos, which then with the hope that they'll go viral. They don't all do. In fact, most don't.
So, Ed, what does he just say? What he just said, what does that tell you about how politics are changing in general?
Well, I think, he made a good point, and it's one that certainly we think about a lot in journalism. As long as you get a good story, it's going to work. And so a lot of the early work on these and the key to the success is finding that story that is worth telling and that will really powerfully convey the candidate's message. It was Mark Putnam who worked on the Amy McGrath ad, the one where you see the fighter jet. He went and met with her. They talked about it, and they were able to come up with those stories about how as a young girl she was told she would never fly in combat, and in fact she did, and how that propelled her to run. It was one of his partners who found MJ Hager and put together the 3-minute Doors video that really powerfully talked about how she passed through or came out of or had doors thrown in her face throughout her life, and that too propelled her to run for Congress. So just in the studying and in the early parts of these conversations, they really come up with these ideas, and through those interviews can come up with the ads that seem to be working.
Yeah, I love that Doors video as well. Now there's another soundbite I'd like to play from Natasha Fernandez-Silber talking about why she thinks women are primarily making these personal campaign videos.
I think perhaps, I don't want to generalize, but sometimes women, I think we're socialized to sort of work more collaboratively. So that is possibly something that can be brought to the table. But we need representation for sure. But we also need women who are coming, to the table with really strong policies and with moral clarity.
Ed, I do know that video that she made for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. There's a moment where she's changing her shoes on the subway platform, and I thought, oh, women everywhere can relate to that. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's so much about that video that just speaks to working women everywhere. So, as the makeup of the pool of candidates changes then, so does the type of ads they make, correct?
Totally, and Mark Putnam spoke to that too. He says, look, you're seeing so many more veterans, especially, and in this case female veterans, running. Part of it is that they've just got this real eagerness to continue serving and are looking for a new way to do it now that they've aged out of the military, perhaps. And that, especially among women, he said, that they are far more collaborative. They want to tell these stories. They know it works. And if they're being themselves and isn't sort of that cookie cutter scripted with a deep baritone announcer kind of look, people might actually stop to watch it amid all the other clutter out there that they see all day long.
Absolutely. Ed O'Keefe, thanks so much. Pleasure speaking with you.
Take care.